I'm actually going to start this podcast off with a story. And it's not going to be, it's actually a theory that I have. You know, it's funny that you have different theories. Like, perfect example, like last month, I started sneezing a lot because I was losing weight.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm sneezing because I'm losing weight. That's a theory that I had just from my past experience. Every time I go to lose weight and get back into shape, I start sneezing.
Yeah.
So I just assume, like, oh, it's just killing, the fat cells are slowly depleting. That's what's going on. And then the coworker, Crystal, she goes, no, it's actually totally true. They asked you, you know, do you pass gas? Do you just, does it just go out of the back end? Does it go out through your breathing? How does the fat cells disappear?
Yeah.
And it says most of it is through breathing. You actually breathe out the fat cells, the end of it. So it made sense while sneezing.
Yeah.
But that was one of my theories that I had on my own. I had no evidence to back that up.
Yeah.
I could have gone to a panel of doctors and said, oh, I'm sneezing because of that. They could have just railed me, just going, you have no idea what you're talking about. But as a theory, and then it was proven right.
Yeah.
Here's my other theory that I've watched from my experience.
Yep.
And I've given this speech a lot, and everyone has agreed with me, so I do believe there's a lot of sound advice throughout all this. And I call this theory victims of education. And this is what you are if you're a victim of education. You go to school, you go to high school, you get good grades, you work inside of a group, they teach you how to go through the process, you memorize stuff, you get your A, you move on. They don't really teach you the theory behind why you're learning this. They just have you memorize it. And then once you get out of high school, that's it. You either have two choices. You can go to college or you can get a job and start in the occupation world. If you're really smart, you blend the two.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're really lucky, your parents can afford it and you're not having some side job to try and get it done. So you go to college and then they teach you how to think in groups, how to memorize stuff, not teaching you the basics and the theory and the sound common sense behind why we do it this way. They just teach it to you, ask you to memorize it. Then you pop out of college and you go, okay, I have this degree. You're all excited. You have this degree in your hands, but you have no life experience. So like, yeah, you're on the same level as that kid flipping burgers who's 16 years old.
Right.
So you have to start to think, well, I don't want to do that. I have a degree. I've made myself.
Yeah.
So the colleges go, hey, by the way, if you don't ready for the real world, come back in and get your master's degree. Hide inside of our security blanket bubble and we'll be okay. And you go, oh, that seems pretty nice. And you go back inside your bubble and you get your master's degree. And then you pop out with your master's degree, which no one told you you're now overqualified for 90% of the jobs that are out there.
Right.
You should have got your master's degree with that for 4 or 5 years of experience, but no one tells you that.
Yeah. And
so now you pop out your master's degree, you have no experience, and you're like, I don't know what to do. And everybody looks at your resume and goes, you're overqualified. You're going to want some crazy salary. I'm sorry. I'm sure you need a crazy salary to pay for all that student debt you just incurred.
Yeah.
And so the colleges, they go, hey, by the way, you want to come back inside the bubble and teach other kids? We need teachers. Come on back in. They go, I really like that bubble. I'd like to go back inside the bubble. In this circle of hell, what I call it a circle of hell, of these teachers going through the system and then turning around and teaching, they're all teaching theory.
Right.
They're not teaching real world applications because they have no idea what the real world application is. You know, I went so far as I went to a JC college and I had a teacher, and at the time I was lazy. I will give it that. I was being lazy, and I took a public speaking course. Well, I could do public speaking in my sleep. So I knew that was going to be an easy A. So all the people that were in that class were struggling. And I walked up, no notes in hand, gave a 5-minute presentation, sat back down. Everybody's like, oh my God, I do this for a living. What's going on? I said, no, I'm just comfortable. And the teacher gave me an F. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, how did I get an F? She goes, this assignment was to use note cards to make you a better speaker. And I said, if I do not need the training wheels, why are you being upset with me because I pedaled the bike by myself on the first try?
Yeah.
And she just goes, nope, the assignment was for notes. I said, okay. So the next assignment, I said, what's notes? She goes, I want you to write all your notes on a one piece of paper. So I brought the one piece of paper up and I talked, and every once in a while I glanced at the piece of paper just so I could get the credit that I needed to, even though I didn't need it. The teacher gives me a C-. She goes, you didn't really need the paper. You didn't follow the assignment. And I said, okay. I said, I want to meet with you and the dean of the college. And so we met with them, and I said, this is a public speaking course. I am passing all parts of the class. Why am I getting a failing grade? And she goes, the assignment was for note cards. And I said, the note cards are to make you a better speaker. I'm already a good speaker. And the dean sniffed it out. He was a very smart man. And Dean goes, you really don't need this class. You're just trying to get the credits. I said, your institution makes me have 52 credits before I get my AA to go to my next college. So I'm playing your game.
Right.
Don't be mad at me that I'm good at some of these assignments.
Right.
That's like a Spanish kid from Mexico coming up here and taking Spanish classes.
Right.
I'm sorry that you're winning. I really am. I'm sorry that you already know the message, but you take the class, you get the A. That's the credit.
Yeah.
That's just being smart.
Right.
So I took a class that I was easy at to get my credits and move on. And so at the end, the end class, when it was all said and done, she gave me a D. And the guy who had a stuttering problem, the other lady who couldn't sit still, and 5 other kids that should have gotten C's all got straight A's.
Interesting.
So I brought her back to the dean, and I said, explain this to me. And I looked at the dean and I said, I deserve an A for public speaking. The end goal, the common sense goal, is to get somebody comfortable in public speaking in one of the 5 different areas, note cards, paper, memorization, was going to make them a better speaker. The end goal was to be me. I'm here.
Yeah.
That's my A. And he goes, thank you very much, Mr. Clevenger. You have a good day. And he left. And that was it. The report cards came out like 2 weeks later, and I got a B+. So he had changed the grade.
Yeah.
She never showed her face in that college again. She was gone. So I can only assume she was let go.
Wow.
Well, she was let go for obvious reasons. She never had any real world experience. She was teaching the book.
Right.
And if it didn't follow the book, then it must not happen.
Yeah. I have had a similar experience. And I think when people are insecure in what they do, they tend to fall back on these sort of, this is my Bible, this is my guideline. And it sounds like in this particular story that she, as you say, didn't have any real life experience. She herself probably was struggling a little even with public speaking, for example. So she goes in and becomes this teacher and then she can't absorb somebody who's actually naturally good at something that she has to struggle so much with. So then she feels insecure, reverts to these note cards, and then doesn't know what to do with her life.
It must have been.
Yeah.
It really must have been. And so when I went to college, to the Cal State, I actually started finding teachers and asked them, what real world experience do you have?
Have you had a job?
No, I did. I really did. I'm sure. I mean, what was I?
You interviewed your teacher.
I was 21 years old and I did. I interviewed like half of them. The other half I was stuck. I knew there's no way to pick Bob or Jim or George or Stephanie. I knew I was kind of screwed with them.
Right.
So I didn't, there was no choice. I had to take it for the credits. But the ones that I had options, I literally did. I said, well, what background do you have? What jobs have you held?
Yeah.
And I remember the mathematician guy goes, well, I've been at this college, at this college, at this college, and this college. And half of me was like, it's just math. So it's 1 + 1 = 2. He doesn't have to have a real world experience. But how am I going to use this math in the real world? He's not going to be able to bridge that gap for me.
Right.
So this is now a memorization class. It's not a add to my portfolio of my understanding of how the world works.
Right.
And so I didn't take that class.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
And then one of the things that was foreign to me, and I will say when I was very young, was marketing.
Yeah.
I could sell ice to Eskimos. Easy to sell. I could show you your problem. Here's the solution. Marry the two. We're done. Calling it. That's simple.
Nice to meet you.
Marketing is like trying to sell to the masses all at once.
Right.
Well, one-on-one is simple.
Yeah.
You know, a person, I'm quoting Men in Black from the 90s. A person is smart, intelligent, articulate. A crowd is dumb, stupid, and crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's truly what it is. So marketing is very different from selling. And so I took a marketing class, and I couldn't get a hold of this teacher ahead of time. And about halfway through the class, I'd realized he had no life experience whatsoever. And he was in his late 40s. And I'm like, through osmosis, he's got to have something. He's got to understand something happened. So let's stick with the class. Let's keep going. And I remember halfway through, so at this point in time in my life, it was my senior year of college. I had 2 years selling signs at the family business. Mm-hmm. I had cut my teeth meeting owners of companies, because it's usually the owner of a company that buys a sign.
Sure.
So I got to meet the upper end people that were actually, putting their neck out there trying to make a living by their own company. I got to meet all these people. I saw the kind of the ebbs and flow of what they're after, and they were all after not the sign. They were after the return on investment from buying the sign.
Absolutely.
They were after their ROI.
Yeah.
How much money can I make off of this sign that I'm purchasing? And I understood all that. I'm like, okay, so when he had a question about marketing, I forget what it was, but he said a statement, and it was like the opposite of what I learned in the real world.
Yeah.
And I raised my hand and said, I disagree. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, I disagree with that statement because of what I'm learning here. And let me explain something to you. And he cut me off. He goes, it's in the book.
Oh, wow.
And I told him, I said, just because someone wrote a book doesn't mean they're right.
Yeah.
That's like saying at 20 years old, marriage and how to make it work.
Right.
I've never been married. I don't know at age 20. Just because you wrote it down doesn't mean you're right.
Yeah.
You got to have experience to back up the statements that you're making.
Yeah.
And I remember getting into a heated debate with him back and forth. I remember the teacher's voice started to raise, and I saw him as an equal, or not so much as an equal. I know as a teacher I should have, but I didn't because I didn't respect him because he had no life experience.
Yeah.
So I started raising my voice. We're yelling at each other. 40 other kids were slouching in their chairs. And I'm like, you're wrong. And then I remember after that, I went back to the dean. I said, hey, you're teaching us hogwash, and I'm paying you good money for this. You better come sit in this class. And the dean didn't for like 2 weeks, and I was pissed because the dean did care. And then I could realize that the dean was after money. And then after 2 weeks, all of a sudden, he magically showed up like halfway through the class and like slunched down in the back. And I saw him. The teacher did. And I went, oh, this is my time. So I started asking some questions. Teacher just got up irate, way faster from my previous history.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So the dean's like, whoa, this guy's got a screw loose. And then the dean called me back in. We had a great conversation. He says, I don't want you to go to the last 2 classes. I'm going to give you a B and move on. Right now you have a C+ in the class. And I said, yeah, but look at the tests. Read the questions, read my answers. I deserve an A. And he just goes, Aaron, I need you to void from this scenario and just leave. And I'm like, fine. And so I left. And at that point in time, I was so set in my ways of where I was going to go in life, go in for the family business, that the degree wasn't going to get me anywhere.
Right.
It wasn't a resume piece anymore. It was for my own education. So whether I got a B or a C or an A, it didn't matter. It was what was in my brain.
Right.
But my victims of education theory is sound. And this is why it's really sound. And that's what I want you guys to really hear what I'm saying right now. It teaches you not to take chances, and it teaches you to stay inside your bubble. That safety net of schooling and work as a group is a BS safety net. And I'll tell you it's a BS safety net because the tax man is still going to come for his share of all of your earnings. And that's not a team effort. You're still going to pay all your taxes to Uncle Sam based on the income that you make. That's never going to change. And if you want to make more money and have a better life, you're going to owe more taxes. And so to make more money, you're going to have to stick your neck out. And that's just the plain and simple of it. And I think the schooling system kills entrepreneurs.
It certainly doesn't do a very good job of encouraging them. Because schools, ultimately, as you pointed out, are all about the mighty dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And what was going to bring more money in? Telling people, hey, you know what? We're going to give you this baseline, this guideline, but, spread your wings, go fly, go create businesses. Absolutely not. That's a 4-year school all day, maybe even a 2-year school. How do you get people to do their PhDs? How do you get people to do their master's degrees? Tell them that they need this information so that they can move forward and succeed in life. It's an interesting theory.
It just dawned on me. So last month, what was it, 2 months ago? 2 months ago, we went to Carlsbad for that wine tasting.
Yeah.
And it was just me, it was just me and my fiance. And we said, okay, let's go ahead and head out. And we went there, it was just the two of us. So we socialized, started making some friends. And there was a lady next to me. And she was very heavier set. She was in her mid-60s or early 60s. She had no makeup on. Her hair was just in a bun. She was almost in a dress, like a muumuu dress. Like you could tell she had kind of given up on life. And then she was just like, I'm there for the wine. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? This is going to go one of two ways. Either one, she really likes this wine and she's a homebody and she's not, what's it called? Introvert. She was an introvert.
Yeah.
Or she was very, very wealthy. And for the last 20 years, she's rested on her laurels and now she doesn't care what anything in the world. And she's just there for comfort. Either way, awesome, great, no big deal. They ended up seating us next to each other. So I asked, what do you do or what did you do if you're retired? I don't know.
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she goes, I work with PhDs and masters at USD or UCSD, one of the two.
Okay.
I'm not going to oust out the college, so I really don't remember which one it is. But, and I said, okay, it's a very prestigious school. She goes, yes, it is. And I said, what do you do? She goes, I help socialize the kids coming out of the PhD who haven't had jobs. And I was like, I know. I went, oh, that's nice. And I turned my head like this. I was like, son of a bitch. And I was like, don't give her the victim's education speech. Don't give it to her. But it was exactly, I wouldn't talk to this lady if my life depended upon it if they had to sit next to her. She had introvert and go away written all over her.
Right.
Not one part said, come talk to me.
Right.
And she was the one teaching the kids. Those kids are screwed. I pray to God. I need those kids to walk in there and after a day go, something ain't right. And they walk away and they trust that Jiminy Cricket in their stomach.
Yeah.
Right here in their chest, it says, something's wrong. I hope that they look at that and go, you're not going to teach me anything. She was the worst example of socializing. And all I could think of was victims of education.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell, this is the message I'm trying to get out there. Please, for the love of God, if you're an entrepreneur or have something, don't listen to the masses and just try it.
Yeah.
Just stick your neck out there and try it. Trust me, you're going to learn so much, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
My first company was, when I was 16 years old, it was called Neon Needs. And we sold neon underneath the cars. Just like Fast and
no
Furious.
way.
Except I was 9 years ahead of my time. I was doing that way before that movie came out. You could flip a switch but unfortunately it was neon. It was high voltage.
All right.
So we had to really cover all the tubes of lighting, hook it up to the DC power and all that stuff to make sure everything was right. And you could have the bottom of your car glow, and we had it. And I was selling sticks and neon out of my dad's shop, 40, 50 bucks a pop. And I had it. How many sales did it make? Like $600.
Yeah.
Like it was hardly anything, but that was my first company.
Are you the reason that you can't have this in California anymore? You know, you can't have lights in your car. It's all because of you.
Whoops. But I failed. I could go to any one of my companies and how many times I failed.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm still standing.
Yeah.
It's okay. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking about it a little earlier. I'm reading a book right now called basically about breakthroughs, right? And for us as humans, we always like to focus on the things that aren't going well for us, right? You know, oh, so-and-so had a better opportunity, or they had, they were further along than we were. And I've been working so hard, but I can't get these breaks. And then when we do get the breaks, we conveniently forget all about them. We're like, oh no, that wasn't such a big deal. Oh, that $1 million contract? No, that was small.
Mm.
I had to fight for it or whatever. But the theory kind of, or the theme throughout this whole book is that nothing comes on the first try. There's not a single person that he writes about, or even that I've ever read about, who woke up one morning and was like, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a multi-million-dollar business. And then just made a multi-million-dollar business. They went through and they used the experiences, as you were talking about, they used their life experience. They took a little bit of what they knew and then put it into what they were interested in and built it. And then it failed. And then they built it again. I mean, Amazon is a perfect example. Every single person in the business industry wrote about Amazon in 96, 97, 98 and said it was going to fail. Every single person. There's not a single magazine article out there that said this was a successful business. And Amazon, as we all know, is, they're doing okay.
They're doing all right. They're doing all right.
So, but it's the trial and error, and it's the finding what's going to work for you, and then moving backwards, and then finding again what's going to work for you. And you've done this how many times?
No, Square Quill's failed 3 times.
Yeah, just Square Quill.
Yeah, just that company. Just that company. The programming found catastrophic failure. We had to completely trash the whole thing and start completely over.
Yeah,
3 times.
Yeah.
That company's doing well. It's profitable. It's in the black. It's doing great.
Yeah.
If I were to keel over tomorrow, the company would continue on and move on. It's a profitable company. It's past needing, the founder's information every second of every day.
Right.
That's a success now.
Yeah.
But good God, how many times I failed? I can't tell you how many times I pissed off a customer because I said something. They thought it was something else. They're like, why does the software do this? I'm like, well, not yet. It doesn't. Well, why not? I'm like, I'm trying here.
This is why we take you off phone calls now.
Well, now I'm just telling the truth. This is a little blunt truth. It doesn't do that yet.
Yeah.
What? I can't help you. It's going to get there.
Yeah.
With this, the fear of failing, for the longest time, people asked me where I found my sales team. A lot of the sales team that I have on here, I met through friends and talked to them and hung out with them privately before I offered them a job.
Yeah.
Very rarely did anybody come in with a resume.
Yeah.
Because they had to be social. They had to sell themselves. If I were to go rebuild my sales team, I'm not going to lie. I think I'd go downtown to the bars.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd go find the guy that's not afraid to go up to a girl and say hi.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to fail. He's not afraid to stick his neck out there. And who knows what could come with that opportunity.
Yeah.
The people that are at home going, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. You're not for sales. That's not your world.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the position I'm looking for right now.
Right.
Same with if you see a pack of girls going, they're all dressed up to the nines, whatnot, and there's one girl that's a little louder, has no problem going, oh, I screwed up. Oh, I almost fell over. And laughs at herself and keeps going. That's the person that's comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah.
That's the person I want on my sales team.
Yeah.
You can't teach that stuff.
Yeah.
That's just innate social, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. That's just that's just what you're after.
Yeah.
But for everything, I'm looking for people that are okay to fail.
Yeah.
Okay to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. And I think, back to your point you mentioned earlier, like the best of both worlds would be somebody who has, that at least a foundation of some education, right? And then has real world experience. And one of the things that I sometimes find in a self-made industry, like a manufacturing industry, is that you sometimes have people who have sort of made money in spite of themselves, right? They're successful in any real terms, but they sometimes don't exactly know how they got there. They're like, there's money there. I think I'm successful. So being able to blend some of the foundations of like, hey, this is just sort of basic accounts, this is basic, marketing, for example, or this is how I like to hire. It's those kinds of things. And when you can blend those two things, I think you take that natural talent of somebody who has no fear of starting their own company and has been successful in it, but then maybe has a fear of books or school or whatever, and kind of somehow blend those two together. It's the perfect thing. And you were able to come from that, you had your dad's business, you had been in business, and you're, a bit of an extrovert.
I was, extrovert is but I was very fortunate because I got to see the insides of a business.
Right.
Most kids don't get to see that.
Very few.
You don't get to see that you're paying taxes, and there's OSHA regulations, and there's manufacturing problems, there's inventory problems.
Yeah.
And in your late teens, early 20s, most people don't get to see all that.
Yeah.
I was super fortunate to be able to see all that.
Yeah.
And it's probably why over the years I went, oh, wait, we need to build a better organization system to handle all those things.
Yeah.
Where most of the time by the late 20s, early 30s, you're just now getting a taste of it.
Yeah.
And in your 40s, you would go, I got an idea to make it better. I just was able to jump the curve a little.
And usually by your 40s, you're too nervous to make a decision, right? Because now you've got your family and kids and responsibilities.
Yeah. And that's a great way to look at it, too.
Yeah.
You're too scared to make that jump and that leap.
Yeah.
I'm still laughing over that lady at the winery. It's just, good God, who put her in charge? I know it's another victim of education put her in charge. Like, oh, this is great. She understands she doesn't understand the damn thing. No. But and then we have some people that I've been running across through my son's friends.
Yeah.
And then some of the younger guys that are starting here.
Yeah.
I could see that look in their eyes. That they want to make a difference. They want their mark on the world.
I agree.
And those people I'm just pumped about. Those people I'm going to spend time teaching them. I'm going to spend time saying, what do you want to do in life? I give you a hand up.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are the rock stars. I can't wait to watch them grow.
No, same. I agree. I had a couple calls, and then we had a couple young kids, like maybe 19, 20, and most of them are kids of people in the industry. Mm-hmm. And so they've sort of learned, and they were asking me questions, and I was like, man, do you know what? Kudos. First of all, I can't even believe you're asking me this question. Second of all, I have to get back to you because I don't know. And I haven't said I don't know for quite a while. So it was really, they're young, they're hungry, they're ready to come into this industry. We just got to find them and make them more eager to do so,
Yeah.
And again, maybe Aaron, together, we can create that industry of a little bit of foundation for college, but also this experience, because you've done an incredible job. And I think, being able to see both sides is powerful.
I don't know where that came from, to be honest with you. I don't know being able to see both sides of the fence and saying, okay, you need some common sense, you need some memorization.
Yeah.
I was way more street smart than book smart in high school.
All right.
If I got the common thread of it, then I understood it. My sister was the exact opposite. She was a memorizer.
Yeah.
My sister had flashcards. She's a physical therapist. And I remember watching, even when she was in her master's program to get her master's on the human body, she had flashcards for all the different bones and muscles.
Right.
And I'm like, just look at the skeleton as a whole. And then, this bone does this muscle does this moves this way.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I have to know that muscle name. And she just had flashcards. It was such a memorization thing.
Yeah.
When I looked at that, I'm like, that's not the best way to learn. And I just always bugged me.
Yeah.
But then somebody came up with some crazy ass name for every muscle, and that's hard to memorize. So I understand. So I get it. I understand you got to memorize to a point. But I think the common sense of how that shoulder moves,
Right.
is a whole lot more important than this is pectoral muscle.
Yeah. 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 No, I totally agree. It's an interesting world.
Well, I think we beat this topic to death here. There's nothing left on it. I will say on the closing note, if you're a victim of education, for the love of God, take a chance.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as scary as you think.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you're going to be a better person for it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marissa.
Thanks so much, Aaron.